Welcome to the peaceful space of sleep-friendly science, where the gentle rhythm of the waves on a distant shore becomes the rhythm of your own breath, carrying us back to humanity's first great adventure. So find a comfortable position and let your body grow heavy, soft, and still. Have you ever stood by the sea and felt a pull? A silent question whispered on the wind? Tonight we trace that feeling back to its very source, as we drift into the deep past, to a time when the world was unwritten, and the ocean was the ultimate unknown. Now settle in, take a deep breath, and let the soft sounds guide you as we begin tonight's journey into the unknown. Section 1. The Restless Shoreline. Imagine yourself there, standing at the edge of the world as you know it. The air is thick with the scent of salt and damp earth, a perfume woven from the forest at your back and the immense, breathing body of water before you. The sand beneath your bare feet is cool and fine, a shifting collection of forgotten mountains and ancient shells, ground down by an eternity of tides. You feel the deep, resonant pulse of the waves, not just in your ears, but in your chest, a slow, eternal heartbeat that has sounded long before you were born, and will sound long after you are gone. Before you, the ocean stretches out, a canvas of deep, shifting blues and greens, catching the sunlight in a million shattered, glittering pieces. To your people, to your ancestors, this has always been the boundary, the end, the great whispering wall of water that separates the living from the unknown. The stories of your elders are filled with respect for its power, its sudden rages, and its profound, unknowable depths. It gives you food, the fish trapped in tidal pools, the shellfish clinging to the rocks, but it also takes. It swallows the shoreline in a storm, and its voice can roar louder than any predator in the jungle. It is a god, a monster, and a provider all at once. Behind you, the world is known. Every path in the forest is a familiar story. You know the calls of the birds, the rustle in the undergrowth that signals a certain kind of animal. You know which roots are safe to eat, which leaves can soothe a wound, which wood burns longest and brightest in the night. The life here is rich, but it is also finite. The same groves of fruit are visited season after season. The same hunting grounds are walked by your kin. The songs sung around the fire are ancient, their words worn smooth as river stones by generations of voices. It is a life of cycles, of rhythms, of certainty. But for you and for a few others like you, a new feeling has begun to sprout, a strange and restless seed planted in the heart. It begins as you watch the sun. Every morning, it is born from the ocean's edge in a blaze of orange and rose. Every evening it bleeds back into the water, leaving a trail of liquid fire across the waves. The sun comes from across the water, and it returns to it. The same is true of the moon, a silent silver vessel sailing a sea of stars. This celestial rhythm suggests a truth that the land-bound stories do not tell, that the world does not end here. It continues. You begin to watch the water not as a wall, but as a surface. You see a fallen log, ripped from a riverbank in a storm, bobbing serenely on the swells. It does not sink. It travels. It moves with the water's breath, pushed by the wind, carried by the currents, a passenger on the great blue road. You watch seabirds, strong and confident, fly straight out from the shore, becoming smaller and smaller until they are nothing but a speck against the endless blue. And then they vanish. They do not fall from the sky. They fly with purpose, as if they know of another shore, another place to land, hidden just beyond the curve of the world. These are the first clues. The ocean's first scattered sentences. A floating log, a distant bird, the arc of the sun. They are pieces of a puzzle that no one has yet thought to assemble. But in your mind, a new kind of fire is lit. It is the fire of imagination. You look at the log and you don't just see a piece of dead wood. You see a vessel. You see yourself upon it, a part of the water's dance instead of a spectator on the shore. You look at the space where the bird vanished, and you don't see an empty void. You see a destination. This feeling is not shared by everyone. Many are content with the familiar world. They see the ocean and feel a rightful fear. They see the power of a storm's surge, the cold, crushing indifference of the waves. To them, the desire to venture out upon it is a form of madness, a courting of death. The fears are valid. They are wise. The forest has its dangers, the serpent, the tiger, but they are known dangers. You can see their eyes in the dark. You can learn their ways. The ocean's danger is different. It is vast, formless, and absolute. It is the fear of being lost in a world without landmarks, a world of endless, repeating waves where every direction looks the same. It is the fear of the deep, dark places beneath, the things unseen. And yet the pull persists. It is a quiet rebellion against the certainty of the shore. It is a curiosity that has grown stronger than fear. It is the whisper that the greatest risk is not in going, but in staying and never knowing what lies beyond the horizon. Is there more land? More people? New plants, new animals, a world of different colors and different songs? The not knowing becomes an ache, a hunger that the food of the forest can no longer satisfy. So you stand there on the threshold between the known and the unknown, and a decision begins to form, not in a single moment of courage, but as a slow rising tide within you. The ocean is not the end of the world. It is the beginning of 1,000 new ones. The horizon is not a barrier. It is an invitation. Your mind begins to work in a new way. You are no longer just a hunter or a forager. You are becoming a planner, an engineer, a navigator. The questions shift from if to how. How do you bind those logs together so they are strong enough to hold you? How do you move against the wind? How do you find your way back? The fear does not vanish, but it changes shape. It is no longer a paralyzing dread, but a problem to be solved, a challenge to be met. It sharpens your senses, focuses your mind. You begin to look at the world around you with new eyes. The tough, flexible vines that hang from the trees are no longer just vines. They are rope. The wide, strong leaves of the palms are no longer just leaves. They are a potential shield against the sun, or perhaps even a way to catch the wind. The restless shoreline has done its work. It has held you, fed you, and defined the boundaries of your existence. But now it has taught you its final, most important lesson, that some boundaries are meant to be crossed. You turn your gaze from the familiar forest and look out to the sea, and for the first time you do not see an ending. You see a path, a great, shimmering, untrodden road waiting for the first footstep, the first paddle, the first journey into the blue continent of possibility. Section 2: Vessels of Woven Vine. The decision, once it has taken root in your mind, changes the world around you. The forest is no longer just a home. It is a library of possibilities, a workshop filled with secrets waiting to be understood. Your gaze, which once scanned the canopy for fruit or the undergrowth for game, now sees with the eyes of a builder, an architect of the sea. The question of how echoes in the hollow spaces between the trees and the forest begins to answer. You start with the most fundamental element, that which floats. You walk the shoreline after a storm, observing the gifts the river has brought to the sea. You see different kinds of wood, and you notice their character. Some logs are heavy, dense, already waterlogged and sluggish. They sink low, barely breaking the surface. They are strong, but they are weary of the water. But others ride high and buoyant. They are lighter, more full of air, and they seem to dance upon the waves, eager and nimble. Bamboo is a particular marvel. You see it growing in dense, tall groves, its segmented stalks strong yet hollow. A single stalk of bamboo is a natural float, a sealed chamber of air gifted by the earth. You tap it, and it gives a hollow, resonant sound, the sound of lightness, the sound of possibility. The first vessel is not a grand ship. It is a humble thought made real. It is a raft. You and the few others who share this strange, seaward dream begin to gather these buoyant logs. You fell the slender bamboo with sharpened stone axes, the rhythmic thok, 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 a new kind of music in the woods. It is slow, patient work. The stone is hard, but the wood is resilient. Each cut is a negotiation. You learn the grain of the wood, where it is weakest, where it is strongest. You feel the life of the tree in your hands, and you feel a sense of reverence in this act of taking, a promise that its life will be given a new and extraordinary purpose. You lay the logs side by side on the sand, a skeleton of your ambition. But how to bind them? How to make them one? The forest answers again. You look up and see the vines, the lianas, thick as your arm, looping from tree to tree in the high canopy. They are the arteries of the jungle, strong and pliable. You've used them before to build shelters, to carry firewood. But now you see them in a new light. You see them as sutures, as sinews for your wooden creature. You learn the language of the fibers. You cut the vines and soak them in water, making them supple. You begin to weave, to lash. This is a skill as old as humanity, the tying of knots, the binding of one thing to another. But now it is elevated to an art form. Your hands become fluent in a new grammar of loops and hitches. You weave the vines around the logs, pulling with all your weight, your muscles straining. The lashing is tight, relentless. You are not merely connecting logs. You are creating a single unified surface, a platform that can flex with the ocean's movement but will not break. Each knot is a prayer, a point of trust. This knot must hold against the pull of a wave. This one must endure the endless friction and the soaking salt. The raft grows not by carving or shaping, but by accumulation, by weaving together the disparate gifts of the forest into a single coherent thought. It is a woven promise. Finally, it is ready. A low, wide platform of wood and vine, sitting at the water's edge. It looks clumsy, earthbound. But as you and your companions push it into the shallows, a miracle occurs. The water takes its weight. It floats. It rocks gently in the small waves of the lagoon, a new kind of creature, born of the land but at home in the sea. You step aboard, your heart pounding. The raft dips, then stabilizes. You are standing on the water. The solid earth is a handspan away, but you are in a different realm. You push off with a long pole, and you glide across the calm, clear water of the inlet. The world looks different from here. The familiar shore becomes a coastline, a panorama. The dream has become real. But the raft, for all its simple genius, has its limits. It is slow. It is subject to the whims of the current. It is a passenger, not a voyager. For the great journey, the one that whispers from beyond the horizon, you need something more. You need speed. You need direction. You need a vessel that can cut through the waves, not just ride over them. The next leap of imagination is monumental. It involves not addition but subtraction. You walk into the deepest parts of the forest, to where the ancient trees stand, their trunks wider than 3 people holding hands. You look at these silent giants, and you see not a tree but a hull, a single seamless body of a vessel, waiting to be released from the wood that surrounds it. Felling such a tree with stone tools is a generational task. It is an act of supreme patience. It is done with fire and stone. You build a careful, controlled fire at the base of the tree, charring the wood. Then you scrape away the blackened, brittle layers with stone adzes, the sharp flakes of flint your cutting edge. You burn, you scrape. Burn, scrape. It is a slow, rhythmic dialogue with the spirit of the tree. Days turn into weeks. The scent of scorched wood becomes a part of you. Finally, with a great groaning sigh, the giant falls. Now the true sculpting begins. You stand atop the fallen trunk, and you map out the shape of the canoe. Then you begin the hollowing. Again it is a dance of fire and stone. You build small, contained fires along the top of the log. You let them burn down, eating away at the heartwood. Then with your adze you chip and hack at the charred interior. Chip, chip, chip. A rhythm of creation. You are not just removing wood. You are feeling for the shape of the vessel. You leave the walls thick enough for strength, thin enough for lightness. You shape the bow into a point to slice the water. You sculpt the stern to give it grace and control. You are hollowing out the heart of a forest giant to make a space for a human heart, for human courage. Months pass. The seasons turn. The log slowly, painstakingly transforms. It ceases to be a tree and becomes something else. A canoe. A vessel of singular purpose, sleek and elegant. When it is finally done, a long, narrow, polished form, it is carried by the entire community to the sea. It is a totem of your shared will. But this new vessel presents a new problem. Its narrowness gives it speed, but it also makes it unstable. It is tippy, precarious. A strong wave from the side could easily capsize it. The solution is another stroke of pure genius, an idea so elegant it feels like it was whispered by the sea itself. The outrigger. You take a smaller, lighter log and shape it into a sleek pontoon. Then, using 2 or 3 strong, arching spars of wood, you lash this smaller log parallel to the main hull. It floats alongside the canoe like a slender companion, a balancing arm. It does not fight the water. It works with it. When the canoe tries to tip, the outrigger presses down into the water, and its buoyancy provides an irresistible counterforce, holding the vessel upright. This single invention is a quantum leap. It gives the canoe the stability of the wide, slow raft, but retains the speed and grace of the narrow hull. It creates a vessel that is resilient, forgiving, and perfectly adapted for the open ocean. Now you fashion paddles, their blades shaped like long leaves to cup the water. You might even weave a mat of pandanus leaves, stiff and wide, and experiment with holding it up to the wind. You feel the push, the gentle, insistent pressure of the invisible air, and you realize you can harness the wind itself. The vessel is complete. It sits on the sand, a testament to 1,000 hours of labor, 1,000 moments of insight. It is a creature of wood and vine, of fire and stone, of human hands and a relentless, questioning mind. It is the key, the bridge between the world you know and the world you can only imagine. It is a question, poised and ready, waiting for the ocean's answer. Section 3. The Star-Stitched Canvas. The vessel is ready. It is a masterpiece of natural engineering, a physical manifestation of your courage. But as you push it from the shallows and feel the deep, open water take you, a new and more profound challenge presents itself. The land, your point of reference, your anchor to the known world, begins to shrink. The familiar trees blur into a dark green line, which then thins into a thread, and then with the terrifying finality, it is gone. You are surrounded by a world of blue, a perfect circle of water meeting a perfect dome of sky. There are no paths here, no landmarks. How do you hold a straight line in a world of curves? How do you aim for a destination you have never seen? Your gaze lifts from the water up to the sky, and there you find your map. During the day, your guide is the sun. This is the first and most fundamental truth of celestial navigation. The sun is not a random wanderer. It is a reliable traveler on a predictable road. You have watched it your entire life. You know its journey. It is born in one part of the sky, which you now call east, the direction of beginnings. It journeys in a high, bright arc across the dome of the sky, and it dies in the opposite direction, the west, the direction of endings. By simply observing the sun's position, you have your cardinal direction. If you keep the morning sun to your left side, you know you are traveling south. If you keep it at your back, you are traveling west. It is a living compass, painted in fire across the heavens. You learn its subtleties. You observe how its rising and setting points shift slowly along the horizon as the seasons change. In the deep heat of summer, it rises further to the north of east. In the cooler, wetter season, it shifts to the south. This is not a complication. It is more information. The sun does not just tell you direction. It tells you the time of year. This knowledge is crucial. It tells you when the winds will be favorable, when the storms are most likely, when the fish will be running. The sun is your clock, your calendar, and your compass, all in one. But when the sun sinks below the waves, leaving the world in a wash of deep indigo and violet, the true challenge of the navigator begins. The darkness is absolute. The world shrinks to the size of your canoe. The whisper of fear returns. Are you still on course? Are you drifting in circles? It is in this profound darkness that the second part of your map is unfurled. You look up and you do not see a black void. You see a canopy of impossible, brilliant light. Far from the smoke of any fire, far from any haze on the land, the night sky is not black. It is a living, breathing entity. It is a dome of crushed diamonds scattered on deep blue velvet. The sheer number of stars is overwhelming, a chaotic spill of light. But you and the elders who taught you have learned to see the order within the chaos. You have learned to connect the dots. Not randomly, but in the same way, night after night, generation after generation. You find the patterns, the shapes, the celestial families that wheel across the sky in a slow, majestic, and utterly predictable dance. These patterns become your signposts. They are your new landmarks in a world without land. You do not search for a single stationary star like a pole star, for in your tropical world, such a star may be low on the horizon or invisible altogether. Your system is far more complex, more fluid, more complete. You learn the entire sky. You create a star compass. Imagine the horizon around your canoe as a perfect circle. You divide this circle not into 4 points, but into 16 or even 32. Each point on this imaginary circle on the sea is defined by a star. It is the point where a specific, bright, and easily recognizable star rises from the water in the east, or the point where it sets into the water in the west. The path that this star makes between its rising and setting point is a straight line across the world. A road. Your training began as a child on a quiet beach. An elder would draw a circle in the sand, representing the horizon. They would place stones to mark the points where different stars would appear and disappear. They would chant the names of these stars, weaving them into stories, into songs. The constellations were not just abstract shapes. They were heroes, animals, gods, canoes. The great hook of stars was the fishhook of a god. The 4 bright stars were the posts of a celestial house. The belt of 3 stars was a line of brave warriors. These stories were not mere entertainment. They were mnemonic devices, a way to burn the map of the sky into your memory so deeply that it became a part of you. So now in your canoe, in the middle of the ocean, you are not lost. You want to travel to a new island that you know lies to the east-northeast. Your elder has told you that the journey should be made when the constellation of the Great Bird rises at a certain point on the horizon. So you wait. As the earth turns, the stars begin their climb. And there, exactly where you expect it, the Great Bird appears, its wings of light lifting from the waves. You turn the bow of your canoe towards it. That is your heading. But the sky is not static. It turns. The Great Bird will not stay on the horizon. It will climb high into the sky and begin its descent on the other side. A lesser navigator might lose their way. But you have been trained for this. You know the sequence. You know that as the Great Bird climbs, another star, perhaps the star of the shark, will rise on that very same path. As your first guide star becomes too high to be a reliable directional marker, you simply hand off your direction to the next star in the sequence. It is a celestial relay race, and you are passing the baton of your journey from one star to the next, maintaining a perfectly straight line through the darkest night. And there is another, even more subtle and magical layer to this knowledge. You learn of zenith stars. There are certain stars that, at a specific latitude on the Earth, will pass directly overhead. Not near the top of the sky, but precisely perfectly at the zenith, the very apex of the celestial dome. Your elder has told you, when you can lie on your back in the canoe and see the star of the wise father looking directly down into your eye, you will know you are on the same latitude as the island of birds. This is a discovery of breathtaking genius. It allows you to find a single invisible line across the vast, featureless ocean. To find your latitude. So you sail on, holding your course with the rising and setting stars. Each night you check for the wise father. For weeks it passes slightly to the north. But then one night you lie back and there it is. a diamond of light hanging directly above the mast of your canoe, its reflection seeming to fall straight towards you on the water. A thrill runs through you. You are on the path. You are in the right place. You are not just traveling east. You are traveling on a specific, invisible highway across the sea. The sun, the moon, the stars, they are no longer just lights in the sky. They are the words, the sentences, the paragraphs of a great cosmic book. And you are one of the few who can read it. This knowledge is a shield against the terror of the void. It transforms the empty ocean into a space of meaning, of direction, of purpose. You are a tiny human being in a small wooden vessel, but you have the whole of the cosmos as your guide. The sky, that great, dark, star-stitched canvas, has become the roof of your new, ever-moving home. Section 4. Listening to the sea's pulse. The stars, your faithful guides, have drawn the grand lines of your journey across the night. They are the eternal, unchanging architecture of your path. But the sky is not always clear. A blanket of clouds can drift in, thick and gray, hiding the celestial map and leaving you in a world without reference. In the full light of day, the sun, when it is high overhead, can be a less precise marker, a broad wash of light rather than a sharp point of direction. In these moments, when the heavens are silent, you must learn to listen to the other great voice, the one that speaks not from above, but from all around and deep beneath you. You must learn to read the living language of the ocean itself. You lower your focus from the sky to the sea. First, it appears to be chaos, a jumble of waves created by the local wind, sharp and choppy. They slap against the hull of your canoe, a constant fussy chatter. But as a navigator, you have been trained to feel deeper, to sense the ocean's true pulse beneath this surface noise. You quiet your mind, still your body, and you feel it. The swell. The swell is not a wave. It is the ocean's memory. It is the ghost of a storm that may have raged 1,000 miles away days ago. It is a vast, powerful energy, moving in long, slow, majestic breaths through the water. These are not the sharp peaks of wind waves. They are immense, rolling hills of water, so wide that you can barely perceive their slope. Your canoe rises for a long, deliberate count, a slow, gentle lift towards the sky. It crests, hanging for a moment in a world of impossible balance, and then begins its long, smooth descent into the trough, a gentle slide into a valley of water. This rhythm is the heartbeat of the deep ocean, steady, reliable, and profoundly ancient. This primary swell, born of the great prevailing winds and distant weather systems, holds a constant direction. If the dominant storms of the season are far to the south, the swell will roll unfailingly northward, day after day, week after week. It is a compass you can feel. Lying in the belly of the canoe at night, with the stars obscured, you can still feel the direction of the swell in your bones. You feel the canoe being lifted from one side and rolled gently to the other. Your body becomes the needle of the compass, and the swell is the magnetic force that guides it. You know that as long as you keep this steady, deep pulse at a certain angle to your hull, perhaps meeting your left side, just behind your shoulder, you are holding your course. It is a conversation conducted in the dark, a language of pure feeling. But this is only the first sentence in the ocean's story. The true genius of the navigator lies in reading the more subtle paragraphs. As you travel, you are aware that the ocean is not an empty basin. It is dotted with land islands, atolls, vast underwater mountains that don't quite break the surface. Each of these masses is an interruption, an obstacle in the path of the great rolling swell. And just as a sound echoes from a wall, a swell reflects from the shore of an island. While you are still hundreds of miles away, long before any land is visible, a new pattern begins to emerge in the water. It is a faint, almost imperceptible change in the rhythm. The main swell, your deep, steady guide, is still there. But now it is overlaid with a second, weaker, more confused pattern. A reflected swell. It comes from a different direction. A counterpulse that creates a slight interference. The canoe's steady, rocking dance is now subtly more complex. It's a slight jiggle, a small hesitation in the descent, a moment where the smooth lift is disrupted by a lesser lift from another angle. To an untrained person, this is just confusing water. To you, it is a shout from the horizon. It is the island unseen, unheard, and unsmelled, announcing its presence. You know that if the main swell is coming from the south and this new, echo swell is coming from the east, then somewhere to the east lies a body of land, a shore that is sending this watery message back to you. You can aim for the source of this echo. The ocean has just drawn a line for you, pointing the way to a hidden shore. This is the art of reading the water's texture, of feeling the shape of the unseen world through the medium of the sea itself. Your eyes, too, become attuned to the ocean's nuances. In the deep open sea, the water is a profound, sterile, almost violet blue. It is the color of an ocean desert, beautiful but empty, a sign of water so deep and nutrient-poor that little life thrives there. As you sail towards your unseen destination, you watch for the first change in this color. It might be a subtle shift, a loss of that violet edge, a softening into a truer, gentler blue. This means the seafloor is rising hundreds or even thousands of feet below you. Then, as you get closer, the water begins to blush with green. This is the sign of life, of proximity to land. It is the color of microscopic phytoplankton, nourished by the runoff from the island. It is the color of sunlight reflecting off a shallower, sandier bottom. The ocean is shedding its deep-sea character and putting on its coastal clothes. You scan the surface for messages from the shore. A single, waterlogged leaf from a tree that does not grow in the open ocean. A coconut, a natural float, bobbing on the waves. The branch of a landbird's nesting tree. Each piece of flotsam is a word, and you must read its condition. Is the leaf fresh and green? Land is very near. Is it brown and decaying? You may be passing down current from an island you have already missed. You are a detective, piecing together a story from the clues the currents deliver to you. Then, other senses come into play, the most primal and reliable of all. You lift your head and taste the air. You are not just breathing. You are searching for a scent. The wind, your constant companion, becomes a messenger. For days it carries only the clean, sharp, sterile smell of salt and spray. But then one morning you catch a new note on the breeze. It is faint, but it is unmistakable. It is the rich, dark scent of wet earth. The perfume of decaying leaves in a damp forest. The sweet fragrance of flowers opening after a rain shower. It is the smell of land. And it is a scent that fills your soul with the profound sense of hope. It is the first tangible proof that your destination is no longer just a memory or a point on a star map. It is real and it is close. Your ears, too, are straining. You listen for a sound that is lower than hearing. A vibration you feel in the wood of the canoe and the hollow of your chest. It is the deep bass thrum of surf breaking on a distant reef. For days, the only sound has been the hiss of the wind and the slap of waves against your hull. But this new sound is a constant. Low roar, the sound of the ocean's power meeting the land's resistance. It is the sound of your journey's end approaching. Even the clouds above become your guides. You watch their behavior. While most clouds drift steadily with the wind, you look for one that seems to be anchored in place. An island, with its higher elevation, will often snag moisture from the air, creating a stationary cap of white, fluffy cloud that hangs directly above it, a beacon in the sky when the land itself is still below the horizon. The island is creating its own landmark for you to see. You, the navigator, have become a living instrument. Your body feels the swell. Your eyes read the water's color. Your nose catches the scent of the earth. Your ears hear the reef's roar. You are not separate from the ocean. You are in a deep and intricate dialogue with it. You are listening to its very pulse, and it is telling you everything you need to know. Section 5. Following the feathered guides. The senses have become your allies, your scouts sent out into the vastness. The deep rhythmic breathing of the swell, the shifting color of the water, the first faint perfume of earth on the wind, they have all told you that you are approaching a new world. The clues have whispered that land is near. But whispers can be mistaken. The ocean is a place of illusions. Now you need a confirmation. You need a living voice, a sign that is unambiguous and true. And so you scan the sky, and the ocean in its generosity offers up its children as your guides. The first sign is a single speck, high against the blue. Not a cloud, but something with intention, with direction. It is a bird. But your knowledge, passed down through generations, immediately begins to classify, to question. What kind of bird is it? This is a question of profound importance, for not all birds tell the same story. You see the great soaring forms of the frigate birds or the albatross, their long wings catching the wind with effortless grace. They are masters of the open ocean, true sea wanderers. They can stay aloft for weeks, sleeping on the wing, drinking the salt spray. To see one of these is a comfort, a reminder that you are not the only living thing in this great wilderness. You watch them and you learn from them. You see how they use the updrafts of wind along the face of a swell to gain height without a single flap of their wings. They show you where the air is most alive. They circle and dive, showing you where schools of fish may be swimming just below the surface, offering you a chance for a meal. They are your companions, your fellow voyagers. But they are not your guides to land. They are at home here in the endless blue. Your search is for a different kind of traveler. You are looking for the keepers of the shore. The terns, the boobies, the nadas. These birds are bound to the land by an invisible chain, a promise they must keep with the setting sun. They hunt and fish over the open sea during the day, ranging far and wide. But every single evening, without fail, they must return to land to roost. They cannot sleep on the water. The land is their anchor, their sanctuary. Their daily journeys are a living, breathing map of instinct, drawn and redrawn every single day. You see one, a small white tern, its wings beating with sharp, energetic strokes. It dives, catches a small fish, and continues on its way. During the middle of the day, its flight path might seem random. But you, the navigator, are not just watching the bird. You are watching the time. Your internal clock, calibrated by the sun, is as important as any other tool. The true moment of revelation comes as the sun begins its descent, painting the western sky in hues of fire and gold. The air cools, the light softens, and a change comes over the birds of the sea. Their fishing is done. A new instinct takes hold. The imperative to go home. You scan the horizon, your eyes sweeping back and forth, and you see it. A single tern flying low and fast over the water. It is not circling. It is not hunting. Its flight is a straight line full of purpose. A few moments later you see another bird, coming from a different direction, but it soon alters its course to join the first. Then a third, and a fourth. What was a scattered, random population of birds across a vast expanse of ocean begins to converge. From the south, from the north, from all around you, they begin to form a stream, a river of life in the sky. Their individual paths braid together into a single, purposeful highway. It is a spectacle of breathtaking certainty. The sky becomes a canvas of converging lines, all pointing to a single, unseen point on the horizon. The island, which until now was just a concept, a story, a destination on your star chart, a faint echo in the swell, is now a real place. It has an address. It is there at the end of that feathered road. The birds are acting like iron filings, being pulled by an invisible magnet, the magnet of home. This is the navigator's moment of triumph. Fear and uncertainty, your constant companions, recede. The vastness of the ocean no longer feels threatening. It has been given a focus, a destination you can see and trust. The beat of your own heart seems to fall into rhythm with the beating of 1,000 feathered hearts, all aimed at the same sanctuary. You now have your final, infallible compass. You turn the bow of your canoe and align it with this living highway in the sky. You do not need to see the land. You simply follow its children. As you sail, more birds join the procession. The stream becomes a flock. You can hear their calls now, a chorus of cries that cuts through the sound of the wind. You are no longer sailing into the unknown. You are being escorted. You might even carry a bird of your own in a small cage aboard the canoe, perhaps a frigate bird, which you have tamed. When you believe you are close to land but the signs are unclear, you can release it. The bird will circle high into the air, its keen eyes scanning a far greater horizon than you can see. If it sees no land, it will recognize your canoe as the only island in the vast sea and return to you. But if it spies a distant shore, it will fly unerringly towards it. You simply have to follow. The bird becomes your scout, your pioneer, your oracle. As dusk deepens into twilight, you keep your eyes on the last of the birds, silhouetted against the fading light. They are your final guides before the stars emerge to take over their duties. This knowledge of the birds is a conversation between species, a trust placed in the instincts of another creature. It is a profound realization that navigation is not just about stars and swells. It is about being a part of the great interconnected web of life. The birds need the land to survive. And you, a human adrift on the sea, need the birds to find it. This feathered compass, drawn anew each evening, is a promise from the living world that you are not lost, that a new home is waiting, and that you are almost there. Section 6. The Cartography of Memory. You have followed the feathered compass. You have read the ocean's swell. You have steered by the silent, burning lights of the heavens. All of these are your tools, your sources of information, your external guides. But the most powerful, the most complex, and the most essential navigational instrument on this entire voyage is not the canoe beneath you or the sky above you. It is the one you carry within your own skull. It is the vast, invisible, and ever-changing map that you have built in the landscape of your own mind. The cartography of memory. This map is not made of paper or drawn on hide. It cannot be held or folded or lost overboard. It is a living thing, a shimmering tapestry woven from 1,000 threads of knowledge, sensation, and story. It is a three-dimensional world built of memory, more real and more detailed than any physical chart could ever be. It is a library of the senses, a cathedral of ancestral wisdom. The canoe carries your body across the water, but it is this map in your mind that carries you all across the world. Its construction began when you were a small child, sitting in the warm sand at the feet of an elder. You did not know you were in training. You thought you were just listening to stories. The old navigator would chant the great epics, the songs of the ancestors who first dared the sea. The rhythm of the chant was the rhythm of the paddling. The words were not just words, they were data, encoded in poetry and myth. A verse describing a god throwing his net across the sky was a lesson on the shape of a constellation. A story about a hero battling a many-headed sea serpent was a mnemonic for the dangerous, confused swells that form when two ocean currents meet. You learned these songs by heart, absorbing them until they were as natural as breathing. You were learning the geography of the ocean before you ever knew what geography was. The training became more formal as you grew. The elder would take you to a special, sheltered building, a house of navigation. The floor was the ocean. Small shells scattered across the woven mats were the islands. Your world in miniature. Here you were introduced to the stick charts. They were not maps in the way a stranger might understand them. They were teaching tools, abstract diagrams of the ocean's forces. You would run your fingers over a matong, a small square frame of sticks. It was a training device, showing how a single Islanda shell tied at the center disrupts the memory of the sea. The straight sticks were the main, predictable swells. The curved sticks showed how those swells would bend, refract, and reflect around the island. You learned to feel this diagram not as a picture, but as a dynamic event. You would close your eyes and imagine yourself in a canoe, feeling the transition from the pure, straight swell into the area of confusion, and then into the shadow of calm water directly behind the land. Then, you graduated to the Rebelib, a larger, more complex chart showing an entire chain of islands within the ocean. You traced the paths between the shells with your finger, and the elder would chant the name of the rising star that marked that path. You learned the distance between islands not in miles, but in days of sailing. From the island of whitebirds to the island of sweetroots, the elder would say, it is a 3-day journey, keeping the star of the great canoe to your bow, and you will know you are close when the swell from the east begins to argue with the swell from the south. This was how the map in your mind was built layer upon layer. The star map was laid down first, the great unchanging framework. Then the dynamic, ever-shifting map of the swells was overlaid upon it. Then came the map of the winds, their seasonal directions and strengths. Then the map of the birds, their flight paths and their seasons. Then the subtle maps of color, scent, and sound. It was an astonishing act of cognitive construction. Your mind became a space where all these different streams of information could converge and be understood as a single coherent whole. Now, on the open ocean, this mental map is your only reality. You are constantly updating it, cross-referencing, confirming. You see the flight path of the terns in the evening. In your mind, you pull up the memory of the elder's chant. When the terns fly home to the silent reef, the setting sun should rest on your right shoulder. You check the sun's position. It matches. You feel the canoe lift and fall. You close your eyes and consult the internal map of swells. The long swell from the south should feel like a gentle push on the left cheek of the hull. You feel it. It is there. A star appears as the sky darkens. You recognize it. It is the first star in the sequence for this part of the journey. One piece of information confirms another. Each confirmation is another knot tied in the rope of your confidence, pulling you forward. This is an act of supreme mental discipline. For weeks on end, you cannot allow your mind to drift. You must be utterly present, every moment of every day and every night. While others sleep, you are awake, feeling the motion of the canoe, listening to the water's voice, watching the slow procession of the stars. You are the mind of the vessel, the consciousness of the journey. The weight of this responsibility is immense. Every person in your canoe, your family, your kin has placed their life in your hands. They have placed their faith not in the strength of the wood or the toughness of the vine, but in the strength and clarity of your mind. And there are moments of profound doubt. When the sky is covered in a featureless gray for days. When the wind shifts unexpectedly, creating a confusing chop that masks the true swell. In these moments, fear becomes a cold passenger in the canoe. The endless, repeating waves seem to mock you. The vastness of the ocean threatens to swallow your purpose. Are we lost? Did I misread the signs? Is my memory failing me? It is in these moments that you must rely not on the ocean, but on yourself. You must trust the training. You must fall back on the anchor of 1,000 hours of practice, 1,000 repetitions of the ancient chants. You quiet the voice of fear by reciting the knowledge. You close your eyes and walk through the mental map, touching the shells, feeling the bent sticks, hearing the elder's voice. You force your mind back to a place of certainty. This is the ultimate test of the navigator. Not just to read the world, but to master the self. You are the keeper of the ways. The knowledge you hold is not your own. It is a sacred inheritance. A chain of memory stretching back into the deep past, to the first ancestor who looked at a floating log and dreamed of another shore. You are a single link in that chain, and your duty is to pass it on to the next generation. This journey is not just a voyage from one island to another. It is a voyage through time, carrying the wisdom of the past into the promise of the future. The cartography of memory is the most precious cargo you carry. A treasure more valuable than any tool or provision. It is the ghost of all the navigators who have come before you. Their collective experience alive and awake, right here inside of you. Section 7 Voyage into the Blue Continent. Your journey is not a singular act of courage. You feel it in your bones, in the chants you recite, in the very design of your outrigger canoe. You are part of something much larger. A vast and slow-moving wave of humanity, pulsing out across the largest ocean on the planet. Your voyage is a single note in a grand symphony of migration. A human story so vast and so ambitious it is difficult to comprehend. It is the story of the Austronesian expansion, the settlement of the blue continent of the Pacific, a testament to the power of the skills you now embody. Let your mind drift back beyond your own journey, to the beginning of this great pulse. Picture the ancestral homeland perhaps on a large island like Taiwan thousands of years ago. Here the fundamental technologies were honed. The creation of pottery, the cultivation of taro and yams, the domestication of pigs and chickens, and, most critically, the invention of the outrigger canoe and the birth of the complex navigational arts you now practice. For generations these people lived, their culture deepening, their population growing. The pressure for resources, the desire for new lands, or perhaps that same restless spirit that now beats in your own chest, began to push them outwards. The first voyages were likely short, tentative hops to nearby, visible islands. But with each successful journey, the map in the collective mind grew larger, the confidence bolder. The ocean was not a barrier. It was proving to be a highway. Then the Great Leap began. A slow but inexorable explosion of people moving eastward and southward. Imagine them setting out from the shores of Southeast Asia, from the Philippines and Indonesia. They carried with them not just their courage, but a portable world. In their canoes were the precious taro cuttings, the breadfruit saplings, the yams. They carried the dogs, the pigs, the chickens that would populate their new homes. They were a floating, self-contained ark, a seed of their entire culture, ready to be planted in new soil. This was not a blind drift. It was a deliberate, systematic exploration and settlement of an empty world. Following the techniques you now know so well, the stars, the swells, the birds, they pushed out into the unknown. They found the islands of Melanesia, New Guinea, the Solomon Islands, Vanuatu. With each new island group they settled, they established a new base, a new jumping-off point for the next leg of the journey. The known world was constantly expanding behind them. They were not just voyaging. They were weaving a web of humanity across the sea. Think of the sheer scale of it. Journeys of thousands of miles lasting for weeks, even months on the open ocean. Imagine the discipline required. The careful rationing of water and food. The constant maintenance of the canoe, relashing the bindings, patching the sail. The psychological fortitude to endure storms that would feel like the end of the world, to see nothing but water day after day, and to hold on to the faith that the mental map was true, that the destination was real. They reached Fiji, Tonga, and Samoa, the heartland of a new, distinct culture that would come to be known as Polynesian. Here, in this vast triangle of ocean, the voyaging arts reached their absolute zenith. The canoes became larger, more robust, great double-hulled vessels, cathedrals of wood and fiber, capable of carrying entire communities, their plants, their animals, their gods. The navigational knowledge became ever more refined, the star compass more detailed, the understanding of the ocean's language more profound. From this heartland the final, most astonishing pulses of migration occurred. Driven by the same ancient urges, new generations of navigators set their prows into the truly empty quarters of the vast Pacific. They sailed north against the prevailing winds and currents, an epic feat of seamanship, to discover and settle the Hawaiian archipelago. They sailed southwest to find the great long land of Aotearoa, New Zealand. And in the most staggering feat of all, they sailed east thousands of miles across the largest uninterrupted stretch of ocean on Earth, to find the most remote inhabited place on the planet, the tiny, isolated island of Rapa Nui or Easter Island. Think of that journey to Rapa Nui, a speck of land so small that to miss it was to be lost in an endless void with no hope of return. The courage, the precision, the sheer faith required for such a voyage is almost beyond our modern imagination. It was the ultimate test of this entire system of knowledge. It was a success. As you sail your own canoe, you are the living embodiment of this incredible legacy. The paddle you hold has been shaped by the hands of 1,000 ancestors. The knot you tie in the rigging is the same knot they tied. The star you follow is the same star that guided them out of sight of land for the first time. You are the tip of the spear, the furthest edge of this great human wave. This expansion was not a single event, but a process that unfolded over 3,000 years. Generation after generation, the torch of knowledge was passed. An elder would teach a youth on a beach in Samoa, and the memory of that lesson would eventually guide a canoe to the shores of Hawaii. A story sung around a fire in Tonga would provide the key to understanding a swell pattern that would lead to the discovery of Tahiti. It was humanity's first true globalization, a network of culture and trade connected by the brave voyagers in their canoes. New genetic studies confirm this story, tracing the path of human DNA from island to island, matching the linguistic trails and the archaeological evidence. The stories you thought were myth are being proven as history by new and different kinds of science. So as your own small vessel cuts through the water, you are not alone. You are carried on the current of this immense history. You are a participant in one of the most remarkable chapters of the human story. The Blue Continent, once a place of terror and emptiness, was transformed, island by island, into a human world. A testament not to steel or engines, but to the power of a woven vine, a well-read star, and the infinite, intricate cartography of the human mind. Your voyage is a continuation of that sacred poem, and your arrival at a new shore will be another verse, written on the sea. Section 8. The First Footfall on New Earth. The signs have all converged. The symphony of clues, once subtle and scattered, has now grown into a thunderous, undeniable chorus. The scent of damp earth is no longer a fleeting ghost on the wind. It is a thick, rich presence in the air you breathe. The stationary cloud you watched for days has resolved itself, its base now clinging to a dark, solid shape that has risen from the sea. The river of birds you followed into the twilight has vanished into that shape, a final, irrefutable proof. The journey of the mind, the great voyage across the map of memory, is over. Now only the final physical few miles remain. The island appears first as a low, dark smudge, a line drawn with charcoal between the blue of the sea and the blue of the sky. But with every paddle stroke, every breath of wind in your sail, it grows. The smudge gains texture, height, and color. It separates into mountains, their peaks wreathed in mist. You begin to see the deep, shadowed valleys between them. And then the most welcome color of all floods your vision, green. Not the blue-green of the deep ocean, but 1,000 different shades of it. The dark emerald green of the forest canopy, the bright, almost yellow-green of new growth, the soft, pale green of palms lining a shore of impossible whiteness. After weeks spent in a world of blue and white, the sheer explosive vibrancy of this green is a shock to the system, a feast for your starving eyes. The roar that was once a faint vibration in your chest is now the dominant sound of the world. It is the sound of the reef, the great guardian of the island. You see it now, a line of brilliant white where the immense power of the open ocean, the power you have lived with for so long, finally meets its match. The swells that were your companions, your guides, rise up one last time in a towering translucent wall of turquoise water, curl, and then collapse into a furious chaos of foam and spray. It is a terrifying and beautiful barrier. This is the island's voice, announcing its sovereignty. But your mental map, the stories of the elders, included this. The chants described how to read the reef, how to find the break, the channel, the gateway into the calm heart. You see it, a stretch of darker, calmer water, a placid river flowing through the turmoil. With skill born of generations, you steer the canoe towards this opening. For a few tense moments you are in the jaws of the surf, the canoe bucking and twisting. And then you are through. The world changes in an instant. The roar of the reef is now behind you, a muted rumble. The water is transformed. You have passed from the wild, heaving ocean into a lagoon of breathtaking peace. The water is glass clear, a perfect serene turquoise. Below you a new world reveals itself. gardens of coral in fantastic shapes and colors, and fish like jewels darting between them. You have entered the island's inner sanctuary. You paddle slowly across the lagoon, a sense of profound awe settling over everyone in the canoe. The weeks of hardship, of fear, of relentless effort, melt away. All that is left is wonder. You are ghosts becoming solid, dreamers waking into a world more vivid than any dream. The air is heavy with perfumes you have no names for. The sounds are a symphony you have never heard, the calls of unknown birds, the hum of insects, the gentle shush of small waves lapping on a sandy beach. The prow of the canoe touches the sand with a soft grating sound. It is the sound of arrival, the sound of an ending, and of a beginning. For a long moment nobody moves. You sit breathing it all in, trying to recalibrate your senses, your very being, to this new reality. You have lived on a moving, shifting world for so long that the stillness of the land feels strange, miraculous. Then you swing your leg over the side of the hull. Your foot sinks into the warm, shallow water, and then you take a step, and your bare foot presses down onto the sand. The ground. It is solid, unmoving, utterly, completely stable. After an eternity of balancing on the breathing surface of the sea, the simple, profound fact of the solid earth beneath you is an overwhelming sensation. It is a feeling that travels up your entire body, a current of pure relief, of arrival, of belonging. You have come home to a place you have never been before. You have put your weight upon a new part of the world. You take another step and then another, walking out of the water and onto the dry white sand. You curl your toes, feeling the fine, warm grains. You are the first human being to stand on this ground, to breathe this air, to cast a shadow on this beach. Behind you the others follow, their faces a mixture of exhaustion and pure, unadulterated joy. Some fall to their knees, pressing their hands, their faces to the sand, as if to confirm that it is real. You look around. This is not just a destination, it is a genesis. The plants, the animals, the very soil have lived in a splendid isolation for millennia, evolving in their own unique way. You are the first significant change to this world. Your footstep is not just a footstep. It is the planting of a seed, the seed of a new human society. The pigs, the chickens, the taro you have so carefully guarded on the voyage are not just food. They are the founding members of a new ecosystem that you will create. You take a few steps towards the tree, lean into the shade. You touch the leaf of a plant you do not recognize. You look up at the vast, interlocking canopy. The silence here is different from the silence of the sea. It is a deep green living silence full of the potential for life. The island has been breathing, waiting for eons. And today you are its first human breath. The great odyssey across the water is finished. A new odyssey, the odyssey of settlement, of learning the secrets of this new earth, of building a home and raising children who will know no other world but this one, has just begun. Section 9. The Explorer's Enduring Ghost. You stand on the new earth, the solid ground a balm to your sea-weary limbs. The journey is complete. A new chapter of life, of building, of becoming one with this place is beginning. But let us pause here in this moment of arrival, and let our thoughts drift away from the canoe, away from this single island, and into a deeper, more philosophical ocean. What is this force, this ghost, that drove you and your ancestors across the uncharted water? What is this restless spirit that chose the terror of the unknown over the comfort of the known? This drive is not unique to you, the sea voyager. It is a fundamental, and perhaps the most defining characteristic of our species. It is the enduring ghost of the explorer, a presence that has haunted the footsteps of humanity since we first walked upright on the plains of Africa. It is the whisper that asks, what is over that hill? What lies beyond that river? What is on the other side of that ocean? Look back, far back into the deep past. See our earliest ancestors, small bands of hominins, venturing out of the familiar forests of East Africa and into the open savanna. That was the first great exploration. They left the security of the trees for a world of greater risk and greater reward. They were driven by the same forces: the pressure of a growing population, the search for new resources, and that unquenchable spark of curiosity. They were not content with what they knew. They had to see what was next. This ghost walked with them as they spread across the continents. It guided them through the harsh deserts of the Middle East, across the frozen land bridges into the vast, empty continents of the Americas, and through the dense, steaming jungles of Asia. Every new environment presented a challenge, a new set of rules to be learned, new dangers to be overcome. And at every stage there were those who were content to stay, and those who felt the pull of the horizon, the call of the unknown. You, in your canoe, are a direct descendant of that second group. You carry the explorer gene, not just in your culture, but perhaps in your very blood. What is the nature of this ghost? It is, in part, a survival mechanism. A species that stays in one place is vulnerable. A single drought, a new predator, a change in climate can mean extinction. But a species that spreads out, that diversifies, that learns to live in 100 different ways in 100 different places, is resilient. It is anti-fragile. The drive to explore is nature's insurance policy for humanity. By scattering ourselves across the globe, we ensured our own survival. Your journey to this new island is not just an act of personal courage. It is an act of service to the long-term survival of your people. But it is more than just a cold, biological calculation. It is something deeper, something spiritual. It is woven into the fabric of our consciousness. The explorer's ghost is the part of us that is not satisfied with simple answers. It is the part that looks up at the moon and wonders what it is made of. It is the part that sees a problem not as a wall, but as a puzzle to be solved. Your invention of the outrigger canoe, your development of the star compass, these were not just practical solutions. They were acts of creative genius, expressions of the human mind's refusal to accept limits. This ghost is the engine of all science, all art, all philosophy. The scientist in their laboratory, peering through a microscope at a world hidden within a drop of water, is your brother. The astronomer, pointing a great telescope at a galaxy billions of light-years away, is your sister. They are driven by the same fundamental need to see what has not been seen, to know what is not yet known. The canvas of the artist, the blank page of the poet, they are your uncharted ocean. They are voids waiting to be filled with new meaning, new patterns, new worlds. The explorer's ghost is often at odds with the part of us that craves safety, comfort, and predictability. The farmer who plows the same field year after year. The elder who guards the ancient traditions. The community that values stability above all else. These forces are essential. They create the homes that the explorers leave behind. They are the anchor to the explorer's sail. Without the stable shore, the voyage has no meaning. There must always be this tension, this dance between the forces of staying and the forces of going. A society that only explores will disintegrate. A society that never explores will stagnate. You are the embodiment of that delicate balance. You carry the stories and traditions of your home with you, to plant them in a new place. You are not just escaping the old, you are carrying it forward. And now look forward from your island in the past all the way to our modern world. Do we still have this ghost? Have we, by mapping every corner of our globe, by charting every ocean, by putting a satellite's eye over every mountain range, finally vanquished the unknown? Have we finally built a world that is all shoreline and no ocean? No. The ghost has not vanished. It has simply changed its direction. The uncharted territories are no longer geographical. The great oceans are now the oceans of knowledge, the vast mysteries of the human brain, the deep, dark matter of the universe, the complex ecosystems of our own planet that we are only just beginning to understand. The voyages are now into the microscopic and the cosmic. The drive to see, to know, to venture beyond the edge of our current understanding is as strong as ever. It is the same restless spirit that pushed your canoe from the sand. So as you stand on your new shore, Know that your journey is a timeless human act. You are a link in an unbroken chain of curiosity that stretches from the first hominin who dared to look over a hill, to the first person who will one day set foot on another planet. The ghost of the explorer is humanity's greatest inheritance. It is the part of us that refuses to believe that the horizon is the end of the world. It is the voice that whispers, now as then, that the greatest discoveries are still waiting, just beyond the edge of what we know. Section 10. The Weaver of Ways. The sun is beginning its descent, the same sun that guided you across the vast, empty water. But now its light filters through the leaves of unknown trees, casting dappled, dancing patterns on the forest floor. The air is cool and fragrant. The story of how humanity first navigated the oceans is not the story of a single tool, but of a symphony of knowledge, a great weaving together of disparate threads into a single strong rope. Let us follow one final hypothetical journey, not as a list of techniques, but as a lived, continuous experience, to see how the weaver of ways, the master navigator, braids everything together. Your journey begins long before the canoe even touches the water. It begins with the choice. Your destination is an island known from the ancient stories, a place called the Isle of Blue Pearls. The stories say it lies a 10 days journey towards the rising of the winter sun. This sets your general direction, east-southeast. The stories also say the best time to make the voyage is in the dry season, when the great winds from the southwest will be at your back, a constant friendly push. This sets your timing. Your mental map, the cartography of memory, is already engaged, laying the foundational grid of time and direction. You launch your canoe in the calm of early morning. The first part of the journey is simple line of sight. You look back at the highest peak of your home island and keep it centered at your stern. You paddle out, the shore shrinking behind you, but for the first day, your origin is your guide. The sun climbs and you use it as your primary compass. You know that to travel east-southeast, you must keep the morning sun at a specific angle to the bow of your canoe, not directly in front, but off to your left side. You are already weaving. The memory of the story is woven with the observation of the sun. As your home island sinks below the horizon, the first true test begins. You are alone with the sea and sky. You must now shift from what is behind you to what is in front of you. You quiet your mind and tune your body to the deeper pulse of the ocean. You feel the long, powerful swell, the memory of the southwest winds, rolling in from behind you and to your right. This becomes your physical compass, a constant rhythmic confirmation that you are still on course. You feel it in your seat, in the way the canoe lifts and falls. The sun reaches its zenith and begins to sink. You know the approximate time by its height, and you know from the stories that this is when you should begin to watch for the shore-finding birds returning to your home island. You see them, a stream of terns flying in the opposite direction you are heading. This is a crucial final check. Their path confirms the direction of the land you have just left, reassuring you that your course away from it is true. You are reading the book of the ocean from both sides now, the memory of what is behind and the anticipation of what is ahead. Night falls. The sky, your second great map, unfurls. You have already consulted your mental star chart. The stories tell that the path to the Isle of Blue Pearls is marked by a specific sequence of stars. The first, a bright star named the Child, should rise directly over your bow. As the earth turns, you watch the horizon, and there it is, climbing from the waves exactly where the elders' chant said it would be. You steer by it. It is your guiding light. But you are also still feeling the swell, the constant companion in the dark. The star tells your eyes where to go. The swell tells your body that you are still on track. The two threads are woven together, each confirming the other. Hours pass. The Child climbs too high to be a good directional marker. But your mental map is ready. You know that as it climbs, another star, the fisherman's hook, will rise on the very same point of the horizon. You seamlessly shift your focus, passing the navigational baton from one star to the next. You are not following a single point but a celestial road. Days and nights blend into a single rhythm of observation and feeling. One day the sky is gray with clouds. The stars are gone. The sun is a mere smudge of brightness. Fear could take hold, but the weaver of ways has other threads. You close your eyes and focus entirely on the swell. Its rhythm is unchanged. You trust it. You hold your course by feel alone, your body becoming the needle of the canoe's compass. You also trail a long line from the stern, watching how it orientates itself in the current, another small clue. After a week of sailing, you know you should be entering the shadow zone of your destination. You begin to listen with even greater intensity to the ocean's pulse. The main swell from the southwest is still there, but now you feel it. A new subtle pattern. A slight confusion in the water. A weaker, shorter swell pattern coming from the east, from the direction you are heading. It is the reflected swell, the echo of your destination, bouncing off its unseen shores. A thrill runs through you. The island has announced its presence. You are no longer sailing towards a memory. You are sailing towards a physical reality that is actively speaking to you through the water. The next morning, you release your caged frigate bird. It circles high, higher than your own eyes can see, and then without hesitation it flies straight ahead, towards the source of the reflected swell. It has seen the island. The feathered guide joins the chorus. Now the clues come thick and fast. You see a change in the water's color. A shift from deep indigo to a softer blue. You catch the first faint scent of wet earth on the wind. Your senses are now the primary tool, confirming everything the stars and swells have told you. In the late afternoon as the sun falls, you see the great river of birds, the terns and boobies, flying with purpose, their paths all converging on a single point on the horizon ahead of you. You join their procession, an honorary member of the flock being guided home. Finally you see it. The low smudge that becomes a mountain. The green that floods your vision. You have woven the stars, the sun, the swells, the birds, the colors, the scents, and the deep maps of your memory into a single successful voyage. You have navigated the great ocean not by conquering it, but by listening to it, by becoming a part of its intricate living system. You are the weaver of ways, and you have brought your people home. And so our own journey tonight comes to a close. The canoe rests on the quiet sand of the lagoon, and the great restless ocean is at peace. The story of the first Odyssey is a testament to the human spirit, a story of courage, of breathtaking ingenuity, and of a profound, intimate connection with the natural world. It reminds us that the greatest maps are not always drawn on paper, but are carried within us, in our memories, in our senses, and in the timeless stories we pass on. May you feel the solid, steady ground beneath you now. May the rhythm of the waves you've imagined become the slow, deep rhythm of your own peaceful sleep. And may your dreams be filled with the wonder of a sky full of stars, and the endless possibility of a new shore. Good night. Sleep well.